Dan, let's talk about tariffs today. Let's talk about politics and tariffs, and let's just complain about everyone who didn't vote for whoever we voted for, and let's complain and call them names.
So we're throwing out the rules. We're throwing out all the rules of no politics, no name calling, and no what else?
Yeah.
Does that mean we can swear in this episode?
Yeah, right. Yeah, and then you have to list all of the people that you now hate and that you're never going to talk to again because they're different than you.
I have a list. I have multiple lists. I got to find them though, but yeah. It's surprising that normally I stay away from all of that stuff. I don't really pay much attention to it, but it's had an impact on my hobbyist lifestyle.
Yeah, I have avoided this topic, and I don't even need to talk about it. You know, I'm not an expert. I'm not an economist, but I observe, and what I observe is that there are a lot of experts out there and people that speak very passionately about this topic, but it just seems to me that their opinion is in, lockstep with their favorite or most hated politician,
Yes. Yeah.
And in my opinion, if your opinion is 100% aligned with any politician, that doesn't make you an expert. That just tells me you're not thinking.
Right.
I don't know.
My biggest problem is on both sides of the political aisle, no one can ever seem to just tell things as they are. Speak the truth. Just tell us how it actually works. Don't make it fit your agenda or your narrative. Just tell us how it is, because I'll just tell you, my firewood bags, the cost has gone up because of the tariff policy. And if you listen to one side, that was not supposed to happen because, it was supposed to be somebody else was going to cover this cost, not me, the consumer, or I guess I'm the consumer.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah. So the bags have gone up. And the other thing that bothers me is the fact that the bags, the price that was increased on the bags was the inventory they already probably had on hand.
Yeah, the stuff was still sitting on the shelf.
Yeah.
But then your price goes up.
Right.
That's kind of like at the gas station when, they got these gigantic tanks underground and you can't see them, but they probably hold a lot of fuel. And then I remember like during the Gulf War back in the 90s, the attack started and then gas prices went up to like $4 a gallon, even though it was the same gas in the ground that had been there the day before.
Yeah. The day before they refilled the tank and it was full.
Yeah. Well, maybe just like the uncertainty and the speculation and all creates some need to raise prices. But the problem would be, though, if they raise prices, well, did you pay for it?
Yeah. And that's where I don't know. Anyway, it's got me going down a path now where I could raise the cost of my firewood bags to the end consumer, but I think that then just presents, a challenge with making change, and I don't know. So anyway, I'm just thinking about, I don't know, I might give up on the bags. I might be done.
I see. I think it's an easy answer. You raise your price. When your cost goes up, you got to pass it on to the consumer. I did that to my firewood, when fuel and everything was going sky high and my logs went up a lot. Before prices started getting weird, a triaxle load of logs was $600 every day, all day. It didn't matter if it was all oak. It didn't matter what it was. It was $600. And then, things started getting crazy. Good heavens, like $1,100, $1,200. It's kind of come down. It's like right around anywhere between $700 and $800 right now. But I mean, To me, it's an easy decision. You raise your prices. It's called capitalism, you know?
Yes. However, if you, like that's where I think that presents a challenge to the person coming up to my stand because then they have to have change. They have to be able to make, they have to be able to pay $7 instead of 5
Yeah.
or $6 instead of 5.
Did it really go up that much though?
Well, yeah, it went up quite a bit. Like it's now I have been looking into some options, some alternatives.
Yeah.
Um, I'm thinking of possibly adding a cashless solution to be able to collect
Venmo?
payment.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing is I have found a different supplier of bags that's a
There
little
you go.
cheaper, but they don't have the labeling on them like I prefer.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So I'll figure it out. It just makes me mad.
Well, you got to do what you got to do,
Yeah.
you know? And I don't know. It's like, I don't know if this is a good analogy. Like in Europe, where the taxes are higher and the prices are higher for stuff. So, like gasoline, diesel fuel, everything over there is much, much more expensive than it is here in the States. And you can see the effect that it has had in their industry because now they are making more efficient machines. And, we got the gas guzzlers over here. Necessity, what's that like, is the mother of invention.
Yes.
And
Yep.
if there's a need, because the prices are just so crazy high over there for a gallon of gasoline, well, it shows up in the way that their machines are. Maybe that's the same thing here. You have high prices that you have to deal with. Oh, maybe you just change the way you sell your bundles.
Yeah. I always look at it as like when my wife goes to the grocery store and every day we are noticing the cost of everything going up. And so then, then you put yourself in that position of the consumer coming to my stand and they're like, "Oh, here's another thing going up." And then that might turn them away. I don't know. That's what it would do for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
I,
I see the whole tariff thing a lot differently, and that's just because I grew up in the Mahoning Valley. We are an industrial steel valley. Dad was a steel worker. Well, he would have looked at me out of the corner of his eye. He was an iron worker.
yeah.
So, we've been screaming from the mountaintops for years and years about protecting American industry. Here's the thing that I find interesting, though, because, like I said, I'm not an expert here, and my opinion really doesn't matter. What I find interesting is that, I'm in my mid 50s and I didn't pay attention to a lot of this stuff. I remember when I was a little boy listening to my dad talk to our neighbor out in the yard about rumors at the steel mill. The mills were going to close down and this and that. But what I find interesting is that how for 50-ish years we've had a very passionate group of people in this country screaming free trade, free trade, free trade. And the other half of the country was screaming, we got to protect industry. We got to protect industry. We got to protect our unions. We got to protect the union workforce. And like the snap of a finger, it's like the roles are just 100% reversed. And now you had these people that were just these passionate free trade and NAFTA and GATT and all these other agreements and stuff. And it's like, oh my gosh, we got to have these low prices and we can't even raise minimum wage. We got to have these low prices and we got to have free trade. And now all of a sudden they're just passionate protectionists, you know? And then the other side,
Yes.
you got these guys that were just screaming for tariffs and we got to protect their industry. And now they're screaming these tariffs are terrible and it's making,
Yeah.
gosh. Yeah. And that's where I'm just saying, if I think a lot of people, I don't know what the percentage is. They just they follow the term is tribalism. They're tribalists and they root for the home team. They wear the
Yep.
Cleveland Browns uniform or the Steelers uniform, and they support the home team. No matter what the opinion is, that's what their opinion is going to be. And everything that's wrong, you blame it on the others. So I think you see a lot of that because I don't know. I would love to welcome all of these people to my side. about about protecting our American industries. But if you're so easy to switch at the snap of a finger, it just makes me think you could easily just switch back again. I don't know.
Right. And
But
it's
but I would also say too, your opinion is good enough for me. I don't care what it is.
and it's just become, I think, too much of a everything has to have a winner or a loser. Like everyone looks at everything as you either win or you lose. And I think
Yeah.
with something like trade, so for example, someone comes to my roadside stand, they give me $5, I give them a bundle of wood or a bag of wood. Like that's an exchange. I didn't win, they didn't win. It's like we just exchanged goods and services. So to me, it's like all of this stuff just makes no sense. I think it's gotten to a point where the I guess political environment in this country is all based on winning and losing. And to your point, one day if you win, the next day you're switching sides and you're doing you're going against everything you were just standing for.
Yeah. So
It's
there is a
crazy.
term. There is a term for that. It is called a zero sum game. It's like out of game theory. So you can only have a clearly identifiable winner if you have a clearly identifiable loser.
Yes.
So you see that a lot in negotiations, and then these people that go for win-wins where everyone wins. The person that's involved in this zero-sum game mentality, that is not on their list of things to look for. You must be able to have someone that you can cream, that you can clobber, like in sports.
Yes.
That's
Yep.
why you see a lot of Americans that don't like soccer because of all the ties. And you got to have a clear, the boxing matches and stuff. You got to have someone who wins and someone that loses. I don't know. I think for politics, like I think for myself, no one tells me what my opinion is. I just know what my lifestyle is, where I grew up, how I live, what's important to me is important to me. So I don't sit around and wait for my political opinion to come from a party or a politician. I think if I'm being honest, like all of the ones that I remember in my lifetime I remember Nixon was my first president that I can think of. Um, if you go back and look at everything, I'm like 50-50 with all of them. I'm not like,
Yeah.
whatever someone says, that's it, man.
I'm the same way. I don't get into size, but I do take the side of common sense as much as I can. And that's where I just like I am all for buy American, build American, but we also have to realize that I don't think we can. Like here's an example of some of the things I use for my mini firewood. The boxes, the labeling, the stickers, all these different components. So like if you go into another small business that say they sell, mangoes, they got to import the mango. They have to buy the little bags, the mesh bags aren't made anywhere around here.
Yeah.
The little zip ties that they put on those bags. There's all these different components that I don't know. It just seems like I don't think we can ever get to the point where every single part of every single small business is made in America.
Yeah. It seems to me that the toothpaste is out of the tube, you know?
Yep.
Like when I think of tariffs, protective tariffs, I think of the electric cars, the EVs. So there is an electric car in China. I mean, the irony here is, we all, about communist China, but are they out capitalisting us? Because there's like over 100 electric car companies in China competing for the market. And the big one is that BYD. Have you ever heard of that electric car company?
I have.
They, yeah, they make an electric car that it is sharp. I mean, it looks like a Subaru. It's not like something that is made out of thatched bamboo or anything. I mean, it is like a legit car. It is all electric, and it's for sale. They could sell it for $11,000. high quality, and they have this infrastructure with like the battery. They have these stations, like kind of like a Valvoline quick lube. When your battery's low, you drive in, you sit there, and the computer takes the battery out of the bottom of your car and sticks a new one in, and you drive off in like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So the United States slapped, like I don't know, like 1,000% tariff on these cars so that they don't come into the United States. Because I read that if these cars got into the country, that like there would not be a Ford Motor Company in like 15 years. It would just
Right.
put everyone out of business. That is my opinion on tariffs, and that's what we needed
Yes.
back, in the 80s when all of our steel mills were leaving to Mexico, to Vietnam, to China, and all. But here we are.
Yeah. That I completely understand, and I am for that. I am not, however, for the fact that if I want a mini tabletop fire pit, and I used to be able to get it from China for a certain price, now that price has increased, however, two times, and it's still less expensive than being able to make it here in the U.S.
Yeah.
So there's certain parts of, and the other thing is it's tough to like even find someone here in the U.S. to manufacture that, unless they want you to buy 1,000 units. Well, I don't want to buy 1,000 units. I want to buy 36, 24.
Yeah.
So it's just, I don't know. It's just the car example. I completely understand.
Yeah.
But not on across the board every single thing.
Yeah. And that is the frustrations is, as a country, we are a democracy. We vote for our politicians and we get who we vote for. So ultimately the people are responsible for what we got. So we have voted for politicians that put an emphasis on free trade, on tax breaks for corporations to offshore production, making it easier for them to like not have to pay taxes on income generated overseas. So look around. I offer to you Exhibit A. uh, and there's still a lot of things manufactured in the United States, but
Yeah.
for our consumer goods and all that you're talking about, okay, guess what? It isn't made here anymore. So it just seems like right now, I don't know, it's eventually going to have to get itself worked out. That's what I believe in capitalism. The market will determine all this. And honestly, that's why I think I sleep well at night. I don't worry about this kind of stuff. There's nothing I can do about it. When prices went up for my fuel and my logs, I raised my prices. So, my profitability, my income is exactly the same. I didn't lose a penny over high prices.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just wound up because I didn't realize how many empty bags I had left in my box. I thought I was good on my supply for a while and all this would settle
Yeah.
out. And here I am needing to reorder. And I'm like, what the heck? I go to the website and I'm like, holy crap. The price of
Yeah.
these
Well,
bags has gone up.
but that's lame though. Like whoever your supplier is, it's just opportunism, So if we're using a tariff, a tax, put on goods, that is to, make it more advantageous to buy something that's already in the United States.
Right.
And even though that stuff was made somewhere else, it was still already here. But then this person raises the prices. They're just becoming opportunistic.
Yes.
And
And
that's the annoying part for me.
and the other annoying part is they raised the prices a month ago when the tariffs went up to whatever they were, 80, 90, 100%. Now that they've come down to 10%, the price has not come back down to
Yeah,
only 10% above the original price. So it's still,
Yeah.
it's still just sticking it to us. And then the other thing is there are no suppliers of these bags anywhere in the U.S. So I have zero options.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, that would make me, I think you have a choice. You can pay the higher price or find a different solution. I would tell you that your choice isn't to go out of business.
No, I'm just gonna not.
You know,
I'm just not
there's
gonna
got to
have
be
bags.
another
It's
way.
loose wood only. I'm gonna have a BYOB. Bring your own bag.
Yeah, and then you charge them double for the, if they
Yes,
bring their own bag, you charge them double for allowing them to do that.
it's $5 to fill it and $5 to take it away.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, Dan, I sell firewood. Uh, I think things were different for me when I was younger, growing up, and dad was a steel worker,
Yep.
and, I believed in all that. But, the way the last shoe to drop here in the Mahoning Valley was when the GM plant in Lordstown shut down and moved to Mexico. So the way I see things now, the Mahoning Valley, we've lost that fight, and I sell firewood, and I worry about what I need to worry about.
Yeah. So you haven't seen any of your like residential sales slow down because people are pulling back and conserving and consuming less?
Um, no, but I think we're at the wrong time of year for that. I probably won't know that until the fall selling season.
True. Yeah.
But like I am a little concerned with some of these restaurants, to be honest. What I'm delivering to them, I've been in some of these restaurants at 11:30, before the lunch rush, and there's no one there. I don't know
Oh,
if
yeah.
that's not a scientific observation, but it just seems that some of them are. I worry about them.
So yeah, I didn't even think of that. Like, if people
Yeah.
start pulling back on consuming and not going out, the restaurants could be impacted, which then could impact you.
Yeah, I think restaurants are kind of an interesting industry. It was like when I was in auto parts, we always said that we were a recession proof industry because, everyone has a car and they're going to fix them when they break down. But then when there's a recession, no one's buying new cars. They're fixing their old ones. So they're buying more parts.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
and like restaurants, I don't know, because I think, these restaurants, their prices have gone up a lot. Man, some of these places are just too expensive. It's none of my business to tell them that. But what they're asking for, a hamburger and stuff, it's like, oh my gosh, that's expensive. Maybe, I don't know. To me, that's a clue. If the fish ain't biting, you have to change your bait.
Well,
I'm not one to lower my prices, but then again, I sell everything I get my hands on.
right. But that goes back to your point earlier. I mean, last year it was there's no way we can pay people more because we'd be paying $20 for a hamburger. And now here we are paying $20 for a hamburger.
Yeah, boy.
Everything's
So I
flipped.
remember when I was in college in the late 80s, early 90s, when I was a broke college student, I I got 99-cent Whoppers. They had
Yeah.
99-cent Whopper. They were everywhere all the time, a 99-cent Whopper. So I just got one the other day, which Burger King is the official fast food restaurant of Ohio Woodburner. And the Whopper, it was like $5.95. It's still a good value. I think it's the best value for a burger out there, but that's a lot. And then I got like the one that they had the bacon something with A1 steak sauce on it. It was like $8
Ooh.
for, a burger that used to cost 99 cents not too long ago.
Yep.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff. Well,
Yeah, I
anyway.
don't know. Yeah. Well, like I said, I'm not an expert and I don't pretend to be. I I kind of laugh at. Yeah, I got some friends that are just militant political
Oh,
people.
yes.
Militant. I don't know. I know the one guy cannot sleep at night. He is just so angry. And that's everything everything and anything is related to politics, and if it is bad is directly related to the other party.
Yep.
Yeah, and I just laugh at this guy because it's like, gosh, it's a beautiful world out there. Oh look, there's a cute bird sitting on sitting on the bird feeder. Isn't that just great? It's like, well,
I know
yeah,
a few
I
people
don't
like
know
that.
how people.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know how people live that way, but whatever. I think for some people they have fun with it. But I remember growing up too. My dad, when the family would all get the aunts and uncles, There was a couple that would, they would argue politics, but it was funny, and they would joke, and make fun of each other and tease and stuff. But people are just, I don't know, people are just weird anymore. They're
Yep.
so angry and so, and that's why I'm glad I don't allow any of this stuff on my channel. Any comment that involves anything with politics, I delete it. That's the fastest way to get a comment deleted on my channel. Because I can't even open the door, I just don't want to hear it.
Yep.
Especially in firewood. Firewood's something that brings everyone together.
Yes. No dividing.
Yeah.
Come
I mean,
together.
if we want to have world peace, I think you get these warring nations and you give the leaders a pair of gloves and a big pile of wood and say, get busy stacking. And they'll be best friends by the time they're done.
Or sit down around a table with a tabletop smokeless fire pit and some back 40 mini firewood burning in it.
Yeah.
Problem
everyone's
solved.
favorite hobbyist. The answer to world peace is firewood.
There you go.
Yeah.
I think that's a good note to end on.
Yeah. Well, I had been reluctant to talk about this. A, because it's not my thing. B, because I don't know if I can speak eloquently about it. And 3, it probably doesn't matter because everyone's going to believe what they want, and that's good enough for me.
Good enough for me as well.
Yeah.
I'm going to go shop for some more bags. So we'll see the future of the roadside stand.
Okay. Are you serious? None of them are made in the States?
I don't know. I've just looked at, I guess I shouldn't have said that. There probably are options, but
I thought there was a company in like the Georgia area. I was talking with my friend Kyle from Colorado.
I think
he had a guy that, because he does, that bag, he does like 1 million bags a year.
Yeah.
But then again, so maybe he buys them, because I know that they get monogrammed at that place, but maybe they import them. I don't know.
And I don't know if they're the right size for the bagger that I have. I'll look into it and report back.
Okay. Give you a homework assignment.
Yes. There you go.
Okay. Well, Dan, I thought this was an interesting discussion.
Yeah. It's like you said, it's kind of, you got to kind of watch which side you try to, how you come at these things. But I'm just telling you like it is. That's
well, I'm coming from my side. And that's why I've also learned too, that whenever I talk politics, I tick everyone off because, I'm like 50-50 on, I think for myself. I don't follow anyone. No one speaks for me. I speak for myself. So.
All right. Well, with that, I think we should strike up the band.
Yeah. Strike up the band, our tariff-free band.
Yes. The tariff-free band is up and struck.
Yeah. All right. Okay, well, Dan, how about let's tell everyone out there let's tell them thank you for tuning in to the Woodhounds podcast.
Yes, and remind everyone that we are on your favorite streaming service each week, Wednesdays, 5 a.m. Tune in.
Yeah. All right, so Dan, let's tell everyone out there to pay
your tariffs, taxes,
yeah, and stay
level-headed.
Unless you disagree with me, then I hate you.
Yes.
Yeah. And have
a great day.